much anticipated conversation with our guest main speaker at our 2025 Women's Retreat, Leslie Vernick. And I cannot express how excited we are that you are coming back. It has been 2 years since you've been here, and I am thrilled to death to have you back. And so, Joy, I'll let you go ahead and say hello and introduce Leslie.
Hey, well, hey everybody, I'm Joy Forrest, and I am the founder of Call to Peace Ministries, and I think it's been longer. It's been since 2021. This is 25. It's been 4 years since Leslie joined us at our retreat. We've had her join us for other things, mostly online. Anyway, I am the one that chose the theme of our retreat this year, which is Redeemer, and it's about God's ability to redeem the worst of human suffering. And so it's based on the passage from Psalm 55. And I love the wording that says, He will redeem my soul in peace from the battle that's waged against me. And so that is what we're going to be focusing on. And because of that, I think that Leslie is just one of the best people to speak to this, because I've always appreciated her work so much, because she's one that talks about healing and how you move forward after being victimized and abused. And I think one of the first year that I met you, Leslie, you were doing something at AACC called owner mindset versus a victim mindset, meaning how do you move from, of course you were a victim and that was a real thing that happened to you, but how do you move forward? And so we're going to talk about how God can take all these terrible things and turn them into something beautiful. And so that being said, I'm introducing you to Leslie Vernick, who has written several amazing books on doing just that, moving forward after abuse and destructive relationships. And so, Leslie, I'm just going to turn it over to you. I think most people here know you.
Yeah, well, thanks, Joy. And I'm really looking forward to coming this year. A Call to Peace has got just a big place in my heart. I really believe in your ministry. I think it's so essential that women get the information, but not just the information, the support, the community, and the transformation, because this is not going to get you down if you don't let it. You know, Satan means all of this that you're going through for evil, but God can use it for good. And I think that's part of the redemption story that we want to talk about this weekend. So I'm really thrilled to come. I'm very excited to be there. Plus, it's a wonderful setting. I don't know if I can say the retreat name properly, so why don't you say it? But it's around a lake and it's beautiful.
Lake Junaluska.
Junaluska. After Indian Chief in Western North Carolina. It is gorgeous. So
if you need some respite and you want some Lebanon and some community and some real depth of healing, I would just encourage you to come, and I would love to meet you.
Yes. Well, we are excited. So please do sign up. I'll drop links in the comments so you can register for the retreat as we get going here. And I'm excited to talk about today, our conversation, and to hear a little bit more about what you'll be sharing at the retreat. Before we get started, as Joy mentioned, the topic and the theme of our retreat is Redeemer. And Leslie, I would love to hear from your perspective. What does it mean to know God as a Redeemer after a destructive relationship?
Well, you know, I think we've had a very limited, narrow view of redemption as Christians. We've seen it as transactional, like God redeems me from my sin, that I'm saved and now I have a ticket for heaven someday. But that's sort of where the story starts to end in many Christian circles. But I'm going to talk about, especially our first session Thursday night, redeem for more. Redeem for more. It's more than just the ticket to heaven. It's more than just redemption from something. It's redemption to something. And so I just want to ask you, if you're here, I want you to think, do some self-reflection for a moment. Do you tend to see yourself, or is the truest thing about you that you're beautiful or broken? Is the truest thing about you, are you a saint or a sinner? Is the truest thing about you, you're created for splendor or you're dust? Is the truest thing about you, are you loved or are you living and feeling abandoned, valued or worthless? Is the truest thing about you is that you were created to be very, very good or you're very, very bad? You see, I think as Christians, we've tended to camp on the negative, that I'm a sinner, and we forget that we're also a saint. And so God doesn't just redeem us from the brokenness. He redeems us to the beauty, to the restoration, to the healing, to the different story that we are beautiful saints, created to be very, very good. And he is well pleased to not just save us from, but redeem us to. So that's what we're going to be talking about.
That is beautiful. That was really kind of my thought when I came up with the theme. And of course, it depends on having the Redeemer who is the one who brings that redemption. I mean, we have such an honor and privilege to be his children that he would take the garbage of our lives and turn it into something literally beautiful. And I just remember that piece of art that you did when you came in 2021. Leslie's also an artist, and she did this I guess kind of like it was art, but it was also, it had things on it that could be like garbage that somebody else would have thrown out, but it was turned into something beautiful. So that is definitely what we're going to be talking about here. So I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, I love that too, because I think redemption is a really, really deep word, and we've not appreciated the depths of it. And, just as a quick story, I have a friend who's we could call her a garbage collector. She kind of scrolls the streets and sees what people are throwing out. And sometimes she doesn't redeem everything, but she spots these amazing little things. Or she goes to flea markets and, Salvation Army stores and all of those kind of things. And she can spot the treasure in the junk. And she redeems it. She buys it. But she doesn't just leave it the way it is, because if it was just a piece of junk, she wouldn't have bought it. So she buys it and then she restores it. And so that's what God does. He brings us back. He's not just saying, oh, we're junk and we're going to go to heaven someday. He sees us. We might be looking like junk at the moment because we're covered with injuries and victimization and our own sin and someone else's sin against us and the shame and all of that. But he sees what we really are. Even if we don't see it, he sees it. Just like my friend can see a treasure in the junkiest junk that I would say, oh no, throw that away. And she pulls it out and she redeems it. And so God doesn't just pull us out of the fire. He doesn't just pull us out of the junk heap. He then restores us into who he created us to become.
Wow. I love that. And I'm wondering too, what would you say specifically to maybe a woman watching this? How can that help her move forward if she's hearing this today and thinks, gosh, my life is really destroyed right now. My marriage is in shambles. I might be losing my kids in court or through the court process. What would you say to her in that situation of how understanding God as a redeemer can help her move forward?
We live in two worlds. We live in the life is what it is, and life is hard for many women in this situation. And that doesn't mean we don't cry. Something happened yesterday to me and I bawled my eyes out. We are human, and God has created us with tears to cry and to grieve and to be sad. And Jesus wept, and he was the Son of God, and he knew the forward and backwards of history, and he still wept. And so we can weep at those things that are hard in our life, the divorce, the loss of a marriage, loss of the relationship we thought we were going to have, the loss of custody of our children full-time, all of those losses that women experience during that time. We don't minimize that as Christians and say, well, because we're redeemed, we don't feel our feelings. Jesus modeled for us the full extent of humanity, and that was feeling the full range of human feelings without shame. And so we're redeemed to feel our feelings without beating ourselves up over it and being ashamed of our feelings like we're weak or we're inadequate. No, we're just human. And when Jesus was human, he showed us that we are going to have feelings, including the hard ones, and that there's more to the story than we can see right now, and that God is always at work using the hard. He doesn't waste any hard, and he promises us that he will bring together and use all things in the hard to create a story for our lives if we cooperate with him. That is a redemption story, not a destruction story. There might be a chapter of destruction in our story, but there's chapter 5 and chapter 6 and chapter 7, and we'll be talking about that at the retreat.
I just love that you just said, if we cooperate with him. I used to tell people that in counseling, because I know that in my own life, I had become so hopeless for a while that I could not see his redemptive hand. I could not see any possible good outcome for a long time. And so it was finally actually a Bible study that I did that helped me realize that I may be calling him a liar, because I say there's no hope, and his word is telling me I have a hope for you. I have a future for you. And so choosing, like leaning into that and choosing how to move forward by changing the way that I was believing and thinking. And so I think that's something too that we need to talk about, is how do we cooperate with him so that we
Right.
can access that redemption more easily.
Yeah, but there's a verse that I read this year. And I've read the Bible, I don't know, I'm sure you have too, Joy, at least 30, 40 times in my lifetime. And there's a verse that I read, and I've never seen this verse before. So just as you said, Exodus 6:10 says this. So Moses told the people of Israel what the Lord had said, but they refused to listen anymore. They had become too discouraged by the brutality of their slavery. And I think that sometimes women can't hear. They can't hear because they've become too discouraged by the brutality of their living situation. And so if you're in that position right now and you're saying, oh, I don't know if I can go here because I can't hear that, I hope that you come, because there's room for you at this retreat too. If you're at a place where you've just been too discouraged to cooperate with God, too discouraged by the brutality of your hardship to embrace the truth, I hope that you can come and just embrace the love, embrace the fellowship, let people embrace you, because eventually the Israelites were able to hear God. And maybe by the end of the weekend, you will once again be able to hear God and cooperate with him.
Amen. I do remember, I've heard so many women say that coming to something like that and seeing other people who have healed, who have experienced some of that redemption, restored their hope.
Mm-hmm.
I remember one lady saying, I remember the specific moment when my hope returned. And so this is a place that will be a place of hope and encouragement. So Lauren, you got other questions for Leslie?
Well, I do, yes. I'm excited because you're talking about these things. It gets me excited about the retreat and all that women are going to experience there. So I would love to, we haven't actually officially announced yet and talked about, what will you be talking about at the women's retreat?
Well, on Thursday night, I'm going to be talking about redeemed for more. Redeemed for more. A little bit about what we've talked about right now, that if you're in a place where you've been too discouraged to hear God, or your salvation has been the kind of the story of redemption, that you haven't seen yourself as God taking you from that place, not to go to heaven someday, but for right now, to begin to restore your soul, to begin to restore you into healing, into growth. And so that you can say, what's more true about me is that I am a child of God, not a sinner. I'm a sinner, but what's more true is I am an image bearer, not a sinner. And so we are both, but when we can hold on to what we are and what we are to become, that can give us the strength and resiliency to continue to persevere in the midst of hard, because we see it's sort of like when you're at the gym and you know that you want to get into your bathing suit in a few months and you're going on a trip. I'm going to Hawaii and I'm like, oh my God, I better stop eating my ice cream, because you want to do what you need to do your best and look your best. You sort of persevere through the hard. When you don't see that, or you have nothing to look forward to, then it's harder to persevere.
I like that too. And it's like sinner. Yes, we're sinners, but our primary identity is his child, is saint. And so I love that too, because you're right. The church tends to focus on what we've done, not our identity. And so part of that redemption is stepping into the identity that he's giving us. So that's really good.
And you've got some more sessions too, becoming the Shiro in your story. Can you tell me about that one?
Yeah. So on our last session on Sunday, I want you to understand your life as a story. And I don't know where your story is. I'm probably in chapter 8 or 9 of a 10-chapter story because I'm older, but you might be in chapter 5 of your story. And sometimes we feel like we're just either the victim in the story, or we're just the participant in the story, but we have no agency. We have no power. We have no control. The story is just happening to us. But that's not true. And the truth is, you are the main character. Obviously, God's the main character of his story, but you're the main character of your story. And if you read any story of any one movie or story or book that we like, the person in the story goes through adversity, and we want to see them come through the other end. Yes, chapter 5 in Joseph's story might be that he was lied about and he was sent to prison unfairly. That's awful. And what did Joseph choose to do while he was in prison? Was he just angry and depressed? Or did he make some choices that changed the outcome of the story? And so I want to give you the tools that you need and the mindset as well as the internal tools that you'll need to become the shero of your own story. And so our last session, I'll talk about how to become the shero in your story. And then in our breakout session, which you may choose to come to or may not come to, I'm going to be giving the tools. I'm going to be giving you 5 or 6 tools, practical tools that you can grow in your mental, emotional, and spiritual health.
Yes, and I believe the name of that one is a workshop, and it'll be called The Toolbox: Practical Tools to to become more aware, to renew your mind and grow. So I'm excited. And then she'll also be on our panel. So we're having a panel on Saturday morning, and you get to submit your questions to Leslie along with several others on the panel and get to hear them answer your questions, hopefully. So we're excited about that. Is there anything else you want to say about the sessions or anything I left off?
If anyone's heard me speak before, you know that I'm committed to biblical truth, but I'm also really committed to practical application. You know, we live in a world of AI. You can Google an answer to anything these days, or you can go to, ChatGPT and find out the information that you need. The information that you need isn't going to create the transformation that you need. And so information alone without community connection, accountability, and support just becomes information. And so coming to the retreat, you will be loved on, you will be supported, you will sense a feeling of belonging that maybe you've not ever felt before. You will have a sense of community and connection with other women who are in the same boat as you are. And some of them are a little further along and some of them are a little further behind, but you'll see that as you walk together, you will grow stronger and go farther than if you go alone. So I hope you come.
I love that. And I wanted to add to that too, as well, a question for you. And that is, what do you hope these women walk away with? A woman that comes to retreat, well, how do you hope she leaves different by the sessions she hears from you and others and her experience of being with other women who understand her?
Yeah. So one of the tools I'm going to teach you in the workshop is a tool called internal external. Maybe I'll draw it out real quick for you. Hold on. Let me just get my whiteboard. And I'll be teaching this tool in our session and our breakout. But you can practice this even now. So life is a bunch of internal, external stuff, right? And so I use this all the time. And so something happened to me yesterday in my external world that I didn't like. And I told you, I sobbed and sobbed and sobbed and sobbed in my internal self. Yeah, obviously I sobbed out loud, but something went wrong here. I was triggered by something that happened out here. All right. And so often we want this to change. Like my husband triggered me, or my kids triggered me, or my, whatever triggered me, the pokey driver in front of me triggered me and I lost my temper, or I got sad or whatever. And so what I want women to get out of this is 2 things. And you'll get a bunch of tools like this. If you can change this, if something's bugging you on the inside, like my sink full of dirty dishes, it's bugging me. And if I can go clean my dishes and feel better, I'm going to do that. Simple, easy, done. But with the women who are coming to this retreat, you can't change your husband. You've tried. You can't fix your marriage all by yourself. You've tried. And yet you're still being torn up here. So the goal is, what do I need to do here if I can't change here? And so one of the things that the women will get out of this retreat, they're going to come away with, is they're going to understand their work often is here. Because what happens for women in destructive marriages is they will knock themselves out trying to change their marriage, trying to change their husband, trying to convince their pastor, trying to get what they need from somebody else. And they're always hurt and disappointed here. And what I want to help women do is build an inner core of strength here, from this theme of redemption, that God redeems this part of us. He doesn't always fix the external, but he does want to heal the internal so that you can handle this with truth and grace and resiliency. And so that's what we're going to talk about. And that's what I want you to come away with.
That's great.
Sign me up. I need that session. That sounds amazing. That's great. And I love what you're saying, is that you're giving women hope. They can walk away with peace, and which is what we're all about, called to peace in the internal, even if their external world is falling apart around them. So I cannot wait. Joy, do you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think we're just looking forward to seeing you in person. I haven't seen you in, I guess, gosh, it's been a couple of years since I saw you at AACC in person. So um, it's going to be a blessing. And we know that this can be a life-changing thing. Just making certain decisions can change and just change the trajectory of your life. And I know that happened for me. I've seen it happen for hundreds and maybe thousands of women at this point. And so there is hope, and there is healing, and this is a great place to begin that process, or to move it along if you feel stuck. So, Lauren, you got, I think.
And in this world of uncertainty and fear, I mean, you know, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, I think we're all feeling a little white knuckled at this point, depending on, you know, who you voted for. It's still a little scary world. Tensions are high. Economy is scary. I think taking care of yourself internally, even by committing to come to this retreat and saying, I need this. I need a weekend of renewal, of redemption, of refreshment, of taking care of me, is not a selfish thing. It's really sometimes a mandatory thing for your well-being and for your future well-being.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, put the link in the comments. Please register today. There are spots available. And then also I want to announce too that we're in the middle of a campaign. Well, we're halfway over the middle of it. We're getting towards the end. We've got about 2 weeks left. And our goal is to raise $65,000 to scholarship 100 women to our He Makes All Things New Women's Retreat. And as I mentioned before, a lot of women coming out of domestic abuse are really financially obliterated. They just can't move forward in life. Their husbands ruin their credit. I mean, they're paying court bills, trying to survive. They can't make a place like this to be able to learn the tools that they need to learn from Leslie and from other speakers. And so we offer them scholarships, women that are in destitute situations and are newly out of abuse. We're offering them scholarships to be able to come to the retreat so that they can hear these things and move forward. And this not only impacts their lives, but will impact their children's lives and make an eternal impact. And so we're offering them scholarships. We have 100 women we want a scholarship. And right now we have raised $30,500 of our $65,000 goal. But Leslie here, we were just talking, has a huge announcement that she would like to make as well about that.
So I still believe in this ministry. I support it financially, but I'm going to give a $15,000 matching grant because I would love for as many women as possible to be able to be scholarshiped in. And so if you have some extra dollars that you want to match me so that we can gather together that $60,000 so that we can have women who really need the help. You know, part of blessing others is financial blessings. And when we have it, some of you don't have it, and that's why you need scholarships. And some of us have some extra that we can give. And so I'm giving this extra that I have to Called to Peace for a matching grant scholarship to encourage those of you who might have a few extra dollars to give it to Called to Peace for this scholarship so that we can have more women who are white knuckling it through their marriage and white knuckling it through court and white knuckling it through paying the bills each month, and they can have a weekend to be loved on, to learn what God really says, and to come out of that place with tools, with truth, and with a new perspective on themselves and God to go forward.
Amen. We appreciate you so much, Leslie. I mean, you say you appreciate us, but we totally, it's so reciprocal. We love you so much. Not just for what you give, but just for who you are and how you encourage so many women. And I mean, I just think about the lives that have been changed just because of your ministry. And so we're so grateful for you. Somebody says they're coming for the first time, and we're excited you're coming, and you're going to enjoy it, we believe. And then somebody else is saying, wish this was a resource 30 years ago. Me too. That's why this ministry got started. Because I was going through this 30 years ago. I realized about last month that it had been 30 years since I left my abuser for the first time. So, yeah, and there were very few resources out there. And honestly, Leslie was a pioneer. She was one of the first ones to had, at that point, I was already into a second marriage, but I got assigned one of her books in seminary, and I was like, oh, I really like this one. And not all the books I got in seminary were as exciting. So, let's just say. But
yeah, I remember when I wrote that book, Joy, I said to myself, this is probably career suicide, because I said women can get divorced, and actually sometimes that's the best choice. And I thought, I don't think any Christian book had actually said that. I was so grateful my publisher didn't take it out.
Wow. I think the one that I got assigned was How to Act Right When Your Spouse Acts Wrong. I don't remember that. I just remember this beautiful chapter called The Gift of Consequences.
Yes.
And thinking, here's somebody that gets it and understands that we don't just sit back and allow people to continually sin against us. So I appreciated that so much. All right. So,
well, thank you so much, Leslie, for joining us today, and Joy for joining us. It was such a wonderful conversation. Both of you, I consider you pioneers in this and have done so much work for women impacted by abuse. And Leslie, we're so grateful for you. I know so many women are probably, it's also made comment about a Conquer group or something like that coming as well. And so we always love meeting new people from Conquer, and that you're mentoring and walking alongside as well through your groups. And we're just grateful for all that you do to support Cult of Peace and to love on women impacted by abuse. You've impacted my life and so many others as well. So we cannot wait to see you. So for those wondering, it's in Lake Junaluska, May 1st through the 4th. We have registration available. There's still economical options available. Please do not hesitate. Sign up today. We love to see you there and love on you and see God transform and redeem your life that weekend. So please join us. Thank you again for everybody who joined us today. We appreciate you.
bye, everybody. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Leslie.
Thank
Bye.
you.